You are now listening to VoiceDelMonte. Warning. The content you are about to listen to is what's known as a CreepyPasta. These stories are known to be extremely graphic and sometimes explicit. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, and welcome back to VoiceDelMonte. I got a little sick. Couldn't really use my voice for a little while, and even at the moment it's a little deeper than normal. I might cough. I will definitely try to get those out of the audio as best as possible. Moving forward, thank you for coming back once again. I had some technical difficulties getting stuff ready for today's episode. Happy Easter to anyone who's listening to this on Easter Sunday. Now, thank you once again for always coming back and listening. I've got a few more things figured out, and I think the podcast is going out the way it's supposed to now. I've landed a few roles as well for anyone who doesn't know about Observable Radio. It's an anthropology found footage type horror podcast. And I got to voice Herbert in it. It was so much fun to hear that all get put together. And I hope I get more listeners from that. That would just be a cherry on top. And I hope to continue working with them as well. If you guys want to hear me in Observable Radio, check out episode 8 as below. But I do recommend you listen to all 8 episodes. The story is very good. But enough of that for now. Today's story is Easter at Uncle Danny's. Written by Red Nova Tyrant. The laughter of kids filled the air as Uncle Danny blew the horn for the beginning of the annual Easter egg hunt. Shrieks of younger cousins, nephews, and nieces danced in my eardrums as they frolicked about, searching the grass and bushes of my uncle's property for those colorful little eggs. Alas, I had just turned 16 and had finally grown out of those childish habits. The last few years I went along with the little ones' pleas, and I would join them in their hunt. But times had changed, and I was more interested in more grown-up things, like getting to eat at an actual table this year, and not some little pull-out poker table that was too short for my teenage body. "So, you saw the new changes?" Jacob asked me with an overwhelming hint of sarcasm. Jacob and I got along very well, despite the 3-year age gap. We played a lot of games together online, so when my family made the yearly spring trip up to his house, I was excited to get to talk to him face to face. We were sitting in the living room chatting about one of our favorite games, pawing through the buckets of treats that the Easter Bunny had left for us. I finally decided upon a boxed chocolate bunny. Whilst explaining my disdain for a recent game patch, I popped open the cardboard top and turned the box sideways, letting the brown replica slide out into my hand. I looked up at my cousin. "You ain't gonna lecture me on ruining my dinner." Jacob laughed and waved his hand. "I couldn't give less of a damn. Go for it." I chuckled as well, and chomped into the head of the chocolate mass. My teeth broke through the surface immediately, and my heart jumped at the surprise. Guess I didn't see that it was hollow. Cheap companies. Why make a chocolate bunny if you're not gonna... And then I hit the liquid. It was gooey and thick, like a maple syrup of some kind. So I thought it was filling, but then came the taste. Metallic. After that, the feeling of some stringy, fibrous mass getting stuck between my teeth. My brain raced to try and understand the weird collection of textures and tastes that were rushing at me. And when I couldn't, I spit out whatever I already had onto the floor. Meat. Meat and blood were staining my uncle's living room carpet. I stared into the bunny's neck, seeing the dripping crimson ooze coming out. I tried to tell myself that it was just filling, strawberry jam, raspberry cherry. But that taste only solidified in my mouth the longer it went on, and I was nearly in tears as I came to the truth. "Oh, Peter, no more of that. Dinner's ready. You'll spoil your appetite." I whipped my head around to see my Aunt Lindsay standing over me, her arms posed on her hips in a manner adults do when they're upset about something. I pointed at the bunny, trying to explain how horrific the situation was, but I could only sputter as she grabbed my arm and gestured for Jacob to follow me. "Oh, come along, you two. Now, Peter, I know you're 16 this year, which means you get to join us at the adult table. Isn't that nice?" My mouth struggled to make sounds as Lindsay took us into the dining room, but it quickly gave up trying. A man was drawn out across the table, his thighs in my mother and father's mouth, his arm on my grandmother's plate, and his head and torso naked and burned. In the center of the table, Uncle Danny was cutting into the man's back with a fork and a knife. I watched as he took a piece, placed it on his plate, then smiled at me. "Petey, come on, have a seat." I couldn't move, so Lindsay did that part for me. She seated me across from my father, and Jacob sat to my left as Danny cut him a piece too. When the meat landed on my plate, I was paralyzed in disgust and horror. It took every ounce of me not to puke there and then at the table. My eyes darted up and down the table, seeing every monster there with their hands clasped together as Danny gave grace. "This is my body, which will be given up for you." Now, as that story was very short, I decided to add a second one. I might be doing this more often, seeing as how my episodes tend to be pretty short. This just means a little more work for me and more stories for you. This next story is always with you. No credited author. I am always with you. I was there from the time you were born. I stood in the delivery room, staring down at you before you could even open your eyes to me. Your family and doctors couldn't see me there in the corner, watching you with cloudy eyes. But I was there from the time you were born, and I followed you home. I was with you always, your constant companion. You played with your toys alone while I stared from all angles in nearby mirrors. My matted, clotted hair with oily sweat that hung off my dented forehead like glue. I accompanied you all the time, drifting behind your mother's car on your ride to preschool. You thought you were alone in the bathroom, but I was on the other side of the door, wind whistling through the bruised hole in my throat, my arms twisted and hanging in their sockets as I stood hunched on the other side of the shower curtain. I wait and follow you. I follow and drift behind you. I'm not seen. I'm almost non-existent in light. You never saw me that morning as I sat across from you at the breakfast table, a shiny red clot hanging from an empty tooth socket as I gaped grotesquely at you. I wonder sometimes if you know I'm there. I think you are aware, but you'll never understand just how close I am. I spend hours of your day doing nothing more than breathing, gagging really, in your ear. I crave to be close to you, to always wrap my crippled arms around your neck. I lie near you every single night, cloudy eyes staring at your ceiling, underneath your bed, at your face in the dark. Yes, you got me staring. Occasionally, your parents came running down to your room one night when you screamed. You were just beginning to talk, so you were only able to cry out, "Man! Man in my room!" You thought you'd never forget the sight of me, with my collapsed jaw hanging to my chest, swinging back and forth. I sank back into your closet, and your mother wasn't able to see me, though you pointed and pointed and pointed. You thought you'd never forget when they left the same night. You saw the closet door crack so softly, and me crawling across the floor to your bed on all fours, shambling in jerking movements as I pushed myself under your bed on disjointed limbs. You learned a new word for me. Boogeyman. Not quite the monster you thought I was. I'm just waiting and following you. Always. Stroking your face with my knotted fingers as you sleep. You'll see me again soon. Any day now. I'm coming blunt and brutal. One day, you will walk across the road, and I believe I'll plow into you with a loud roar and a screech. You'll roll on the pavement, roll under wheels, blunt force, metal fenders, and my fingers touching your face again and again. You'll stare up from the cold pavement with cloudy eyes. Your matted, clotted hair hangs on your face, and your jaw is unhinged and swaying against your chest. You'll notice me approaching. No one else will see me. You will stare past them into my eyes, and I'll leer down at you for the first time in our life. Something like a smile will come over my face. You'll swear you're looking into a mirror as clotted bits of scarlet bubble from our mouths. I'll lean down past the doctors and the oogling people and pick you up into my crooked arms. Our faces will touch. My wings will unfurl. And then you'll have to follow me. And I am always with you, for I am your guardian angel.